to get into this because I don't know. It's always a fun time chatting with you when it comes to music and when it comes to just listening to songs and getting feedback and I don't know, just your perspective on licensing and just
Oh,
like
thanks,
what
man.
works and what doesn't. Because I feel, man, like you have such an ear for like feel. Like when I listen to your productions, when I do like a deep dive and when I do all of that, I feel like you always have um I love how you don't get bogged down on the technical. And you just like you're more on just like the emotion and what you want to feel.
Oh, thanks, man. I feel like I still get bogged down on the technical, but I try and make it feel like something, you know.
Excellent. So we got folks coming in. So
Nice.
thanks for everybody coming in. If you're new to the channel, this is Songwriting for Guitar channel. My name is Mike Meiers. I'm an Emmy Award-winning composer, producer. I've had hundreds of placements on various platforms, and tonight, Geoff, who is one of our coaches here, who is not only just an astounding coach, but and not only a New Zealander, because I see Craig here. Craig's also from New Zealand. I see Craig is
Oh, kia
also
ora, bro.
yeah. So, but you are also Billboard producer. You are also a multi-million streaming producer, songwriter, and hundreds of placements on various platforms. I don't know any favorites that stick out to you of favorite placements you've gotten.
Mm, there's a couple of real fun ones. Me and my
Yep.
friend Dustin made a remix of one of his songs. He has a project called Zade Wolf that's an incredible project
One
with
of the
killer
like a
songs.
huge
I
first
mean,
sync
the
licensing.
kind of the
Zade.
goat, but
Yeah.
also like it's easy to look at sync artists and sort of somehow put that in a little box in the corner and say, oh, that's a sync artist. But I mean, Dustin, Zade Wolf as a project is just a totally legit project. The new record is insane. Like, as an artist, he just I have a huge appreciation for what he's doing, but he
Yeah.
also happens to crush it and sync. So we did a remix of one of his songs called Gladiator, and we did this real sort of futuristic remix, and it got the Jeep Gladiator relaunch when they relaunched that vehicle. So that was a fun one
Oh,
because it was very sort of like cinematics, sort of like the Tron soundtrack kind of synthwave remix of this song. That was super fun.
I feel like especially too, it's always big when you can get a good brand. Like one of my favorite, like we got a Target one. I remember we got like and another commercial was like Texas State Fair, which was weird. It was just like Texas, and it's like okay, Texas. So
Let's
it's
go
like
Texas.
yeah, let's go Texas. So we're gonna start digging in. Let's dig into our first song, and we're gonna chat about sync licensing. We're keeping this super casual tonight, and so
Cool.
when we listen to your songs too, remember that the way that Geoff and I view, and this is why I like doing this with you, view listening is we're always searching for the context in which we would experience your song. And since we're talking about licensing, we're thinking about shows, we're thinking about what's happening. So our minds will look like, okay, where would this be? So when we're critiquing, we're using that as the context. We're not going to go so deep into the technical of how you achieve everything because we do not have enough time to explain all the things that we could do because there's a set of steps, things to look at. But our goal is to give you something that's working for the song and something that you should probably look at if that sounds good to everyone, which I think it is. So let's pull up right now. Let's go to, let's take a look at the space between your heart and mine. I think this is Cameron. I
Yeah.
don't know if Cameron is here, but I'll just pull this up and we'll just take a little listen.
I walk these roads with your name on my tongue, like a prayer I was never meant to say. The wind hums low, the night's still young, but the stars all seem so far away. Two cups wait on the table at dawn. for the ghost of who we were. The chair sits empty, the kettle sings on, and I talk to the air, but it's you I prefer. All the space between your heart and mine stretches out like a long slow train. I send my love through the dark each time. May the wind reach you before I can.
Oh, I'm gonna just skip to a little bit later on. Let's go.
A daylight to stand out.
Okay, cool. So, Cameron, I'm curious, did you have any, I'm looking in the chat, any sort of reference or anything that you were going for or you were feeling like when you sat down to write this? Was there anything in mind? Before we kind of just like dive into it, would love to know if there was a little bit of reference or something that you got, maybe you got a brief or you saw something on TV that kind of inspired you to write the song. So, curious to see if there was. And also, we have like a little delay on YouTube, so sometimes it'll be like when I say the question, it'll be a little pause, and then we get the comment.
No
But
worries. Yeah, that's good.
yeah, but yeah, my co-writer. Okay, my co-writer like Gregory Alan Isaacoff a lot. Ah, okay,
hmm
Gregory,
hmm
nice.
hmm
Um, cool. So your co-writer liked Gregory Alan Isaacoff a lot. My thought from number one, I like the voice. Like I like the voice. The first thing that was like, I'm a big. I know Jeff, you are too. Like I feel like when I have someone, I'm always like listening to like what their voice is and how I feel when they sing. So I think the first that you have going for, I don't know if this is an artist or if you just hired out the vocalist to do this, but her voice is awesome. I like the kind of like Nickel Creek kind of vibe. That's what I was kind of getting a feel of. Um, and I would say I wish you got to the chorus sooner. I really wish your chorus happened sooner. That was my initial impression.
Yeah.
I don't know, Jeff, your thoughts as you were kind of listening through.
Yeah, the gut reaction is straight out of the gate. I loved how organic and wholesome it feels. Like it really gets your
Mm,
attention. I instantly could picture it in an indie film like a Juno or something like that, where it's just like a very unpretentious sort of production and it sounds really legit, but organic and human and doesn't sound overcooked. And I love that. I too was like, I would love after that first verse to get into that chorus because when that chorus hits, I'm in the film. I can see someone walking along with that being the thing behind them, or a garden state, or whatever. One of those like really rad sort of
mhm,
indie wholesome sort of films. I just feel like it would work so well behind that kind of storytelling, and it felt so friendly and sort of approachable. And I loved how that felt. I thought the voice was killer. I loved all the arrangement. Um, I felt like the chorus. I really wanted to hear that line, either bookend the chorus or repeat it, at the halfway point, that main introductory line of the chorus. I felt like the chorus, you could land the plane on the chorus more strongly so that because it feels like it has four different lines. It
mhm.
doesn't feel like it kind of solidifies a simple melody, like could do the first line in some space and the first line in some space and then finish the chorus with the same line almost, just so that you really only the chorus is just the chorus, like it's not too much going on in there. That's just my view on it, making it feel like it would help tell a story more clearly, maybe. But overall, I thought that was a really syncable
Yeah.
start with some tweaks. But I really thought it felt great, and I could see it. I could imagine it with picture, no problem.
Yeah, it's like there's lots of elements working for it. I love the wholesome vibe that you said, like the word
Yeah, yeah.
wholesome. It's
hmm
like something that feels like you would add tags like warm, welcoming. It's like
hmm
coming back home. And I get the indie
hmm
vibe, what you're saying
hmm
too. It's just like
Yeah.
that indie film, which is just like it's it's not heavy, but it's still a topic that requires that organic feel in the instrumentation.
Yeah, it's just really human, you know. It feels really good.
Yeah, like human connection, human emotion, real conversation. What was the other one? Little Miss Sunshine, I love. That was a good, that was another good
Totally.
one. I feel like
Yeah.
what you're saying, Garden State, Little Miss Sun, all these ones were like in the, Juno in this little uh time
Like
period.
Zach Braff would be in it, you know. No. But no, it was really well
Yeah.
done, I thought, you know, it sounded great. But also, how long was the whole song, Mike? I'm not looking at the whole, I can't see it on my end, but
Yeah, so that, the one thing I would say is it's almost 5 minutes, which is very long. I would say
yeah.
like I'm not necessarily if it goes to like 3 minutes and 10 seconds, I'm not like, oh, we must cut more, like more of it.
Mm,
But like that is something to take into account because 5 minutes is really long by today's standards. That's almost too much. Almost like it's almost like two songs.
well, that's two K-pop songs for sure.
Yeah.
But, you know, I mean, yeah, great work though. I mean,
Yeah.
I think,
So
you
I
know,
think it's
really
Cameron,
solid
it's
stuff.
moving in the direction. Those are just some things. If you're not already doing kind of like some demos yourself or demoing before you do like the full on version, some pre production, I guess, that's what I would do. Because if you're hiring out people, this is where it can get a little pricey sometimes. Uh, if you're just not, if you're just building it once when you do the final song and you're not kind of trimming it
Mm.
up before you go, that can be because you do a lot of that, Jeff. I feel like, when you're, well, because you're pretty much writing with the artist and with the person as you're doing it. So you're almost like, you're producing it, but you're also kind of like adjusting as you go along.
Sure. I mean, that's the ideal. I mean, or just sort of calling people up and being like, "Hey, do you care if I hack the second part of the verse out completely and just kind
Yeah.
of make it feel to me like it would work more?" And then if we need to recut a vocal because we've chopped some stuff out, then we figure that out. But yeah, I think not being afraid of slicing and dicing before committing. I mean, the
Yeah.
opposite is true too, because you can make 100 versions and never commit, and that's a problem as well. But I feel like, yeah, really trying to think about it in terms of is the arc of the song moving sufficiently for me to be interested? And a double first
Mhm.
verse at that tempo takes, I mean, I'm positive that you wouldn't be in the chorus till well after 1 minute, you know, like at that tempo. You could probably see that at your end, Mike, but, you know, that's a long time to wait. And partly because that hook is so great. The feeling of that chorus when that
Yeah.
comes in, that is such a payoff. That feels so good, you know.
I think about that a lot sometimes with past songs that I wrote where I'm like, I wish I would have shortened because there are good bits. Like there, it's like I've had good choruses or I see sometimes in like this or like other times where there are great choruses. I just wish it got there sooner.
Right.
And the only thought is, I don't know, when you're sending to a supervisor and when I talk to them, they're kind of jumping all over the place. So they're not necessarily going to, if they are hoping your course is going to start here and they go there and it's still your verse and they go elsewhere, that sometimes gets moved on. And just your average listener, we're in an
Mhm.
age where it's a lot of next, next, if it's not
Sure.
kind of, yeah. So it's like being conscious.
And it's that dance, right? It's that balance between something that feels really artistically satisfying to us
Yeah.
as the writers and performers of a piece of music. We could be like, this is amazing. It's 13 minutes long, but we love it. Versus, who are we making it for if it's a sync facing thing? It's like, how can a storyteller utilize this to tell their story? So, you know, what's the arc of the dynamic? How quickly do they need that
Yeah.
section? You know, and not being in a hurry just to be in a hurry, but like, is it moving? Is it interesting? Is it building through a scene where it's getting to where it needs to go without being like, I mean, there's not that many scenes that you've got a minute and a half just to kind of set the scene before you get to the chorus. And of course, people can edit songs. So these are not rules. These are just the things that we think about while we're doing the process ourselves, you know?
I
But
feel like it's
great
like
work.
just, yeah, it's just kind of going off of what has worked for us and what has seen
Exactly.
repeated results. And so, like, when we see that, we're like, oh, cool, just file that away. And to your point, it's at the end of the day, too, it's what feels right for the song, which can seem like such a vague thing when someone says, like, I just want to feel the song. And it's like, but
Yeah.
as you said, like those arcs and those flows are meant for a reason because it keeps the
Mm,
listener engaged. So, but again, I think the overall thought is it's great feel. The fact
I
that we
agree.
could just like sit here and be like, and such good comments too. And props to everyone who submitted as well, because it's not, we're just casually kind of going through and giving some feedback, but it takes to submit your song and just wait for somebody to just give feedback. That's a big thing because you're accepting of their critique and just the things they'll engage and things they'll like, things that may not agree. But that's how each song gets better. Because I feel like every critique I got and feedback session I got, it was like, oh, okay, I filed that away for future
Mhm.
songs.
Yeah, that's
Um,
great.
cool. Let's move on. Let's move on to another one. This is fun. Let's take a look at. Um, let's see. This is home. So this is Mark. I don't know if you're here, Mark, but I'll just take a quick little listen right here. Here we go. This is home.
You turn the corner, head down the street. It's the place your family and friends can meet. Pull in the drive, and you can't wait to open the door and see the smile on her face. This is home, where I always feel love. This is home, where I never feel alone. This is home, where I come from. I will never be very far. This is home. The time goes by, but the memories will last. Pictures hang and bring you back to the past. A fire's burning and dinner's warm, waiting for you when you walk in the door. This is home, where I always feel love.
Cool. I'm just gonna move.
This is home, where I always feel love. This is home, where I never feel alone. This is home, where I come from. I will never be very far. This is
Cool. And Mark is here. So Mark, I would love to know if what was your did you have a reference? Are you releasing this as an artist? Was there a brief, anything in general? My favorite thing is just the idea of, kind of universal choruses. And I think home is a very universal, syncable chorus. I like that you got to the chorus pretty quickly. I actually enjoyed the hook at the beginning. It was like almost like this whistle kind of thing that was happening that I liked with it. I'm always a big sucker for hooks, like some sort of motif at the beginning. Um, I
I
don't
would
know.
have
Does
loved
that?
that to come back after the chorus.
Yeah, yeah, kind of like a
It's
turn
such a
around.
hook. It
Yeah,
feels like, I'm sorry, I know Mark's going to tell us a little bit about his
yeah.
motivation, but I also, straight away out of the gate for me, it felt super wholesome. Felt like it could be like a Sherwin Williams paint ad, where it's like a
Mm,
family home, where it's like, built to last a lifetime. Sherwin Williams, wholesome, super friendly. Like this is the place you're going to have your family and your grandkids, and you can see a montage all through the years. That's the kind of feel I got from that song, and that little sort of sung little hook at the beginning. If it went back to that after the chorus, you could really set that feeling up after the chorus. But I mean, I thought it had a great feel, super friendly. Let's let Mark chime in, and then we can bombard
yeah,
him with our
yes,
thoughts.
you,
But yeah.
Mark. Yeah, if you got anything, just feel free to add. My one thought is I think I would look at the vocal treatment for the main lead because it felt a little detached from me from just the overall organic feel a little bit. I don't know. That was just my initial thought.
I
Um,
will say this, when the lead vocal started and it felt like it had a little more of a country twang on it than I felt like I was expecting
mm,
from the intro. So
yeah,
I don't know if I was expecting something that just felt a little bit more American authors or even Mumford and Sons in a way, just kind of a little less Southern maybe. I don't know. It just
yeah,
felt like that maybe pigeonholed it a little bit for me, but I thought it was a fine performance and it sounded super friendly, but I feel like geographically limited it to
Mm.
Texas or the South or something where it didn't feel as like universal to me for some reason. That may be because I'm a foreigner, so I'm sort of hearing it in a certain through a certain lens. You know what I mean?
No,
Um,
that's interesting
so
because
I don't want to
yeah,
overstate that, but it was interesting to sort of feel like, oh, that wasn't the vocal I was expecting with from that super folky,
yeah,
uplifting sort of feeling at the beginning. Not that it was bad necessarily, but it's just interesting the effect that that has.
it
I
is.
wouldn't, yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting that both of us kind of like honed in on that a little bit, and we were like, oh, I think it's because yeah, you mentioned like things like Mumford and Son. I think of what was it? They were of Monsters and Men. Then there
Hmm.
was like what was the other one? Edward Sharpe and the Magnetic Zeros, because there was a time where that was a very kind of like again mom and pa and it had that sort of like organic
Yes.
feel. Now Mark said it was part of a sing songwriting course, and I had 4 songs to submit.
Hmm.
So that's cool. Like here's what I would say: this is a great template too, because like if we're both pointing out here's what's working,
Hmm.
it's also about the and I'd love your thoughts on this, Geoff. It's about the repetition, the reps of doing more. Like as you do each one, you kind of get that feedback and you see the components that work really well. To do well in licensing is to build a catalog essentially, because that the catalog is going to do
Absolutely.
yeah, it's not always going to be a couple of songs. Like you want to build lots of what's working.
Hmm.
I can't imagine like, I don't know, your thoughts, Mark, Geoff, on kind of like, especially catalog building.
Well, I think catalog building is where you can sort of diversify your efforts so you're not relying, like if you rely on 5 songs, those songs have to do a lot of heavy lifting to
Hmm.
provide you with stable income. But if you have 200 songs, there's a lot less pressure on each song just from the math of it. So it's kind of like it also gives you a chance to sort of diversify your range a little bit and try things that go a little darker cinematic, a little brighter, a little indie folk or whatever. I mean, creatively it's more rewarding to do that, but I think also just straight up business wise, it makes more sense to have different kinds of, you know, songs that can hit different opportunities for
Yeah.
And I think with regards to what you're saying about leaning on what's working, that applies, within a single song. So when you have a hook like the opening hook and it feels so good, I think it's, you know, worth repeating. A good idea is worth repeating. So put that as a post hook and build on that idea. I mean, I think that's a really strong, like Best Day of My Life by American authors is I think something that springs to mind with that kind of instrumental hook. It feels really good. It's kind of happy. It's wholesome. Um, and that hook, it keeps on coming back. And, to be fair, a usage like that, they might not even use the verse lyric. That might just be
Mhm.
the backdrop for the scene and the voiceover, and then it's got that melodic hook, and they might not use any of your lyric other than that hook, but that might just be the perfect thing to set up this kind of wholesome vibe. So, I think, yeah, just make sure that if there's a part of the song that's working really well, serve it up more than once, but maybe in a slightly different way each time. Like maybe there's a little bit more going on the second time. And you know, we've talked about this a lot, Mike, but thinking about the Lego pieces, like if you have a verse, chorus, and they're the same, then even though you got 4 sections of a song, it's the same 2 pieces of Lego, especially if you're printing an instrumental track. So you're not actually giving a music editor more to work with just because you repeated it. So verse 2, put some other stuff in there, change a chord here and there, or put some other percussion or change a rhythm or embellish it somehow so that even though it's functioning as the same thing, like a verse,
Yeah.
when you just have the instrumental or even the song at whole, you've actually got 4, in between a verse, chorus, you've got 4 different colored pieces of Lego instead of just 2. So again, having that hook at the beginning, not super big, but then after the first chorus, all the drums are more rowdy and you've got a big tambourine and some hand claps and some more vigorous strumming or whatever, then you've got another look at that same idea, but it gives you another different colored piece of Lego that might be the perfect fit for being used on a spot. So just thinking about all those things so that you're really maximizing the bits of the song that you have.
especially if both Jeff and I are like, man, that's a good hook, like at the beginning. And we are both like, oh, we'd love to hear that more. So
Yeah,
I'd say
yeah.
that, Mark, that is great. Like if that was kind of like the motif too, that you were, kind of started the song, that's awesome. Do more
Hmm.
of that. Don't be afraid to repeat those hooks and just kind of what you said, Jeff, and just like, don't be afraid to take it and do a small change to it. Just because then
Hmm.
it's like, oh, there's a variation of it,
Hmm.
yet there's some familiar bits to follow, but then that new thing kind of pulls you in. So
Love it.
I think the fact that you took a course on this, Mark, is awesome because it started to give you the blueprint and the framework. And now it's doing more of this. Like if you're not co-writing, do more co-writing, write with artists, take all that info that you took from that course, start putting it together. And if you produce this too, that's awesome. Then start utilizing your production skills because that is important. Yeah.
100%. And I don't know if it's on a technical level, I don't know if it's just because of the way it's streaming to me through
Hmm.
Zoom. That mix maybe sounds a little dull to me. I wonder if when you're mixing that stuff, just referencing something like that, best if it's a song like that, then find something in that universe to kind of just quickly reference to, like pull it up and play the chorus and then listen to yours. And maybe when you're doing that, maybe that sits perfectly in that world and it's fine. But I feel like if it's set up just a little bit brighter, it might just feel a little bit more energetic too, which can feel really nice without overcooking it. But yeah, just referencing, making sure that the mix feels like it's in that sonic universe
Yeah.
of other songs that are doing that kind of thing. But anyway, stellar work, really
Can,
good.
can I ask you, Jeff?
Yes, sir.
Can I ask you how do you feel like what is your relationship and how you utilize references? Because I think it's an important thing. You've talked, we've kind of mentioned that a few times, and I feel like if we're talking about in the context of sync, we're always going to talk about references. But like, how do you listen to references?
That's such a great question, and it varies depending on the part of the process
Yeah.
that I'm in. I'm not usually listening to references going, oh, I want to steal that vibe. It's more like once I have something going, like what else can I think of in that vibe so that I know what has worked in that genre from the point of view of how loud is the cinematic percussion, how, you know, bright is the whole thing, or is it kind of dark and moody and woolly, or how bright is it? So I kind of want to bounce between a few different songs. And I mean, I can listen to three or four references and they'll all tell me the opposite thing from each other. I could listen to like a dark cinematic song that's very woolly and dull and feels spooky and awesome. And then I could listen to another one and it feels light and airy and it's like, okay, well, which one do I do? And then it's like, okay, well, here's the range between which I want to live, and that's fine. And so it kind of can create some guardrails for me of like, this is too little and this is too much for
Hmm.
whatever the thing I'm thinking about is. So I'm not necessarily trying to be like, oh, I'm going to pull up my buddy Zade's song and I'm going to copy the beat and I'm going to make sure my tambourine sounds like his and I'm going to
Yeah.
pull up those mammoth samples he made so I can sound exactly like him. It's like, we already have Zay Wolf, so just do your own thing kind of thing. But, I think it is valid to say, well, his stuff hits real nice and the top end feels great. So if mine is brighter than that, then mine's too bright because I trust how his stuff has always translated, for example, So it's
Yeah.
finding songs that I know have worked and that feel like they relate to what I'm trying to do creatively. But mostly that's from a sonic thing. Like I'm not going, oh, I'm going to steal their chords or, like
Yeah.
whatever. I'm not trying to be like, what's the drums? It's just like, how bright is it? Is that reverb too much? What's on that Ruel song that has cool reverb? And it's like, oh, she did that. But actually, for this, I'm going to keep it a bit drier. So sometimes you listen and then you still arrive at your own conclusion. But I think references are really important. Like, you know, when you're finishing songs and you want to know that the bottom end is right or it's bright enough or just comparing it to something that lives in the real world, especially if you've just been down your rabbit hole, working on stuff in
Right.
isolation and not listening to other records, because suddenly you can be like, whoa, that's really dull, and maybe it's a vibe, so you run with it. But yeah, I think it's just cool to get a gauge on, like,
Yeah.
compared with real world success stories, how's my stuff shaping up, you know
I love that you're also just a connoisseur and just a listener of music. Like you listen to new stuff. You're just immersing yourself to things. Like you're not necessarily, I don't want to say like pigeonholing yourself into a particular style or decade or time, but you're willing
Mm.
to consume other things to expand the palette of what you're creating.
Well, I mean, Yeah, I still get super excited about new music and new artists and people who are doing interesting, cool things. And you know, I have a bunch of friends and we share stuff that we're coming across and be like, "Have you heard
Yeah.
this new stuff?" Like I remember when my friend Solly sent me McGee for the first time, and I was just like, "This is so sick," you know. And I hadn't,
Yeah.
you know, hadn't come across it myself. And my daughter um, shares great music with me, and she has cool taste. And my partner Anna sends me killer songs that I'm like,
Yeah.
"This
Yeah.
is a vibe," you know. So a bunch of friends send me stuff. I'm still so excited to hear what people are doing that's cool and fresh and new. And then you know,
Mhm.
I'm old enough to have been around for 80s V1 when it was Aha was on the radio and Duran. I still love all those songs, you know, like they sound so cool to
Yeah.
me. And now I have some built-in nostalgia, but I think synthwave became really popular because even for people who weren't even born then, it feels nostalgic and it evokes a feeling of something. It's really cool. So I love how
Yeah.
music can do that. And I'm not like, I only want to do cinematic or I only want to do pop or I only want to do K-pop I mean, I make so many different genres of music for that exact reason. I just love how it feels when something captures a feeling like that, you know?
But the energy that you're doing right now, I'm like, oh, this is why you work well with artists because you're very conscious of vibe and feel. And I think that's
Thank you,
important to
Michael. I
facilitate.
try and be. Yeah, I love it. I mean, it's really
We're
important
gonna
that it
keep it
feels
going.
like
Yeah.
something. Yeah, it is really
Yeah.
important to me that it feels like something when it's coming out of the speakers, as opposed to it's just sound coming out of the speakers. It feels like there's some tangibility to the sounds. There's some intentionality
Yeah.
behind the parts. There's like depth, and you can, you know, as a producer, you're always trying to find ways of putting a magnifying glass on the thing that makes the emotion or the lyric or the sound of the voice special in that moment, you know. So
Yeah.
I love that process of being like, oh, a 15-second reverb, which is normally like a, please no one use a 15-second reverb, but sometimes 15-second reverb is exactly what you need to make something really feel this powerful emotion.
Yeah.
It's a weird thing. It's cool. It's fun. And the journey of exploration is the thing that makes it fun, you know.
I love it. But props, Mark. Give some props to
Yeah.
Mark for sharing his song. That's awesome. Keep at it,
Great
man.
work.
I love
See,
it.
man.
All right, let's take a look. Let's see what we got here. Let's do um let's see. This is Woman's Anthem,
Yeah.
Not Backing Down. All right.
So you thought I was weak, but I couldn't speak up for myself. Guess you thought 'cause I'm a girl that you own the world and it revolved around you. What your daddy must have taught you wrong, got you singing that played out song. They treating no one any way you want, just 'cause you can, makes you a man. But those old days are over and they're not coming back. 'Cause we are not backing, and we are not losing. We come too far to just let this go, and it's time that we let you know that we're never gonna back down now, never again. Let's get a few things straight. I don't need to wait for your permission to speak. I don't belong to you. Don't have to do what you say to. I can do whatever I choose.
Cool. Soulful. Like, it's
Man,
got a
what a
little bit.
voice.
Yeah. I think I saw both our eyes when we had like that chord change and we were like, what? We didn't expect it to go there. I think it was, let me pull it back. It was early on too. So yeah.
Flat seven, major chord off the flat
But
seven.
I couldn't speak up for myself. Guess Guess you thought speak
Yeah,
up
I
for
think it drops here.
myself. Guess Guess you thought 'cause I'm a girl, and it revolved around you. What your daddy must have taught.
Yeah, so I don't know. I was looking for it, but there's lots of cool moments within here that I like that feel, yeah. Oh, nice. Okay, so we do have the songwriter and artist here. Awesome. And yeah, there are things that I enjoyed. Like I like the ooze. I love vocal textures and layers. I'm a sucker
Yeah.
for having vocal arrangement. I love. Because I feel like, there's something about vocal arrangement that's engaging when you have ooze, nice stacks. In general, I like some of the shape of where it's going. I would, me personally, I probably want to find a clearer reference so that we could build out the production more because I think that needs some of that, especially if you're going to go that route of a very super soulful and jazzy. I'd want to, maybe even horns, I want to take a look at too.
I mean, I think the first thing I
Yeah.
noticed, like, was that that voice is insane. Like,
Yeah.
that's a legit vocal. Like that,
Yeah.
I feel like you could make absolute soul anthems with that.
Mm-hmm.
I think the production feels like I would have loved to hear it more organic, like
Mm.
less programmed sounding drums, even if they were programmed, that just stuff that felt more like maybe like an Andra Day type of thing or a Olivia Dean, stuff that just felt like real instruments in the room, so that it felt like warm and real and soulful and just a little more organic. I think would help it feel like get the emotion across. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
There's certainly the vocal insane.
Yeah.
But if it leaned a little more Adele, Andra Day, like just some more organic vibe, I think it would be easier to get that landing on things, that kind of feeling, the tempo change threw me when I first heard it, like it was like, whoa, I was not
I think
expecting
there's a
that. So
kick
it's a
that kind of goes ton, 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 and then
dun,
it's like,
dun,
whoa,
dun.
and then
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. And I was like, whoa, that took me by surprise. And that's not always a bad thing. But I will say that when we have sync songs that have big tempo changes or big key changes, it can make that harder for when we're talking about Lego. I don't know if you're here when we're talking about Lego before, having different colored sections that can be edited and comped together. If there's a key change and or a tempo change, those kind of things make it harder to then make little splices and build a world with the song for a music editor that kind of paint it into a corner somewhat. So it's worth thinking about. And like all these things, it's never like you must never change key or you must never do a tempo change. It's just more like more often than not, a piece of music that's going to get a really killer usage probably doesn't have a drastic tempo change in the middle of it. There may be exceptions to that rule, but more or less, it's like for a music editor, they're wanting to kind of keep the pace and flow. It's probably more usual that the tempo will stay the same. That's just a note. Do with that what you will. But yeah, I would have loved to feel the production more organic. I don't know how far along in the process the song is, but I think certainly the vocalist is insane, and I don't think that'd be a
yeah,
problem. I think warming up the soul nature of it, I don't think it has to feel so programmed. It's probably the biggest note that I have, you know.
yeah. I think it's interesting where I'd say song wise, it's in a good position because they're really good. From a songwriting perspective, it's got those elements ready in place. It's the things you're talking about. It's like we're just, the warm elements or the more organic elements you can add and you can change and you could just do this again. But like at the core of it, you've got great vocals, which is like,
Yeah.
oh, that's awesome because
And a female empowerment message, I think there's a lot of room for that
yeah,
in lots of places. Like, I mean, I feel like we can all get behind that. And I think that a story of sort of overcoming and empowerment and sort of stepping forth into your
mhm,
destiny is always a good vibe. So, you know, um, yeah, killer voice, number
yeah,
one.
it's
Awesome.
phenomenal. And that was my, it's interesting that we're talking about, when it comes to kind of the hierarchy too of like if you're new to licensing, you're unaware of different positions. Like, people think music supervisors, but what you were mentioning, like the music editor, I think is, the person that you want to get on their best side possible, because they're the ones that are splicing all those other tracks, and to make their job easier more and more. And when I talked to a music editor once, he was like, "Oh yeah, I remember certain people's names like on songs, and like, oh, this
Right.
this is an easy song. It's going to be easy because they're drops, they're easy points to edit." Like,
Hmm.
I think I was talking to the one because I had a placement that was on, and you've too on the show Found. I've never watched it, but it was on NBC. But it was like they do a lot of music that leads into licensed music. So it's like in-house composer that has made it in this key to blend with the thing that is about to go into the song that they've just licensed. So it's just like the easier and more simple that is,
Yeah.
the better.
Because they're
Um,
looking for a real cohesive
yeah.
musical experience for the show, so yeah.
And that's the bigger thing with licensing. It's a service-based industry. That's all, that's what it is. And so where
Mm.
it's like, oh, there's these rules. Yeah, it's it's service-based. And that's why
Mm.
with licensing, you may see a small handful of people that do really well at licensing. It's just they adhere to the rules, but to your point, I think, because they've had some placements under their belt, as they get more confident, they can play with the rules a little bit. The things that you're
Mhm.
talking about, there are things that you can bend and you can kind
Mhm.
of maneuver a little bit because you kind of got, enough under your belt. You're not a noob, but you're kind of like going out there with like, oh, I know what I'm doing because it's worked. And now I can kind of play with some of those elements.
Totally. And some of that Nashville sync crew from like
Mhm.
2014 through whatever that were really at the front end of a lot of those big placements, they kind of made the rules and the vibe was so cool that people just adopted them over time. There's a huge number of people in Nashville, especially, and a bunch of people in LA, but there's a
Yeah.
big community here of people who were really on the front end of that writing for sync thing. And I mean, yeah, really killer songwriters, and they really figured out how to help someone else tell their story. Because we're not trying to write a song that's so full of a story that if we play it, it takes away from the story that the director's trying to tell. That's why when people talk about being a little vague and just kind of making the story more about the feeling, making the song more about the feeling than necessarily the literal story of the lyrics, because that works better as a backdrop across the back of someone else's story. Because we don't need to tell the story. That's what they're doing with you know what I'm saying? So some of those
Yeah.
considerations, right? And they're not rules of songwriting. You can write very cool story songs, but
Yeah.
it's about saying, what is going to give my song the best chance of landing in a spot and being commercially valuable to me, as if it's option A is to be more busy, option B is to leave more space, then statistically we would observe that if you leave more space, you're leaving more room for that, you know, music editor and director to tell their story, So leave space. Don't be afraid of leaving space.
Space is always going to be your friend. To your point,
Hmm.
there's nothing wrong with story songs. If we're talking
Yeah,
about licensing, we just have to be aware that the writer and the director have a story that they want to tell in a series, and that takes
yeah,
precedent. Now, if it's just you and you're writing for fun and it's your own enjoyment, there's like rules are out the window.
100%.
It's all you. And if you're like, "Ah, I'd love to get a song into this show. I'd love to build a consistent career starting to get things placed," then you just got to be aware, like the director, the writers, they all have their stories that they want to tell, and you're there to support it and just
Mm.
amplify that feel. And
Yeah.
I can't
And
believe,
go and watch the shows that use the
yeah,
music you're trying to make. If you like what they're doing on This Is Us, go listen to that playlist every day. And
I think
if you
that's what's
like what's on
amazing.
Grey's Anatomy, go listen to the songs and be like, why did that work? What kind of space is there? How busy is the verse? Is it a line and then just a space and then a line, like, or is it run-on sentences? Like usually it's not run-on sentences. So it's kind of like, yeah, just look at it and see what's working for people.
I think, who did I talk to? It was an email that I was talking to one of your clients, like April, and it was one
Hmm.
of I you'd mentioned space. I think you just talked about space within her vocal of like, oh, and then I said, wait, you can just pause right there. You can just let that breathe. And I was just like, yeah, because she was like, "You're right." Because yeah, I'd talked to April a while ago, and I think that was kind of the same thing where I was like, "Yeah, just leave some space there," and she was like, "Geoff said space," and I was like, "Boom!" I was like, "Yeah, of course he did," because space is
High five.
the yeah. April's crushing it, but it's to your point. Like space will always be your friend, and it works for a song sometimes.
Hmm.
So
That's
love
good.
that. Okay. Let's how are we on time? Okay, we got 10 minutes. Let's pick one more, and then if you have questions in here, throw one or two quick questions. Geoff and I will kind of like go through it, but maybe we'll do this more. This was fun. Okay, so let's see. We've done this one. Let's take a look at okay, let's see. Loving you like this.
Welcome to the house of secrets, yeah. My story's just begun. I was being true to you, girl, yeah. And you were having fun. There's another one gone, and another one gone. Could it be wrong? I can go on. I gotta be strong, yeah. 'Cause I know what I need. It's more than you're giving. Loving you like this. Loving you like this. Loving you like this. Loving you like this. Somewhere in the night I hear you moving from afar. I wanna know that I can reach you, hey, but I am not your star. Oh, there's another one gone, and another one gone. Could it be wrong? I can go on. I gotta be.
Just fast forward to the end right here. Let's go like midway.
Tell me secrets. I wanna know. How can you love?
Secrets like this, yeah. Oh, baby,
Nice. So this was
Classic.
Shifter X. I like the vibe and the feel of this. There's some elements that again, there's some hooks that I really like. I think
I feel like it's cop show, like night driving scene, like OG Miami Vice, but like if you're doing a modern like cop drama show fiction thing, big city, it kind of is evocative of those kinds of 90s cop movies or whatever, but in a cool sort of synthwave sort of way.
I thought of Grand Theft Auto, getting into Grand Theft Auto Miami, just
okay.
getting into the car and driving off, and that's playing on the radio.
Right.
Boom, 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 boom. The one thing I will say, I think is the pre that is my favorite part of the song. Let me see.
loving you like this. I gotta be strong, yeah. 'Cause I know what I need. It's more. I can go on. I gotta be strong, yeah.
Was that, or let me see. Another one that down one bar. I think that was my favorite bit of like melodically. My one
Yeah,
thought.
when that first chorus hit, I was like, that feels great,
Yeah. And I was thinking about what you had just said prior to about, space. The one thing I noticed about pretty much every song that we listened to tonight that I'd be like, one thing it changes, have a pause where everything drops. I don't think there's any point in any of the songs we've listened to tonight where things have dropped or stopped. And I'm
Interesting.
like, ooh, because I'm like,
We do kind of
sometimes,
lean on that.
yeah, it's like a chorus can really smack, especially if you got like a really good chorus that hits you, just a pause. And then boom, it's like, whoa, that's the thing that you need. Not a huge
And
swoop, not a huge big, but just boom, just that.
and that might be something that you do the first time and not the second time, so that it
Mhm.
is different, and you get a
Yeah.
different look at it, or the other way around. You go straight in the first time, and the second time you let it hang and hit the chorus. Yeah, just some variety. But regarding that song, I think that it was like, one of the things that I've talked about a lot is how to help people figure out where they imagine their song being used.
Mm. Yeah.
Like, so when you were first playing that song that we just heard, I liked the vibe of it, and I'm a sucker for synth pop and synthwave. I love that stuff. But I was trying to think, where would this fit, and when we're talking about Grey's Anatomy and all those shows that we might be talking about earlier with some of these other songs, it's like it's not really that, but it's like, oh, maybe it's like the cop show, the late night drama, the city, the sort of
Yeah.
the rough city, emotionally absent cop driving along, hating his life constantly, those whole driving montages they used to do, like,
Yeah.
I think it's a backdrop to a city or something like that. So in that case, it's kind of like the only thing that matters is the way it feels. It doesn't really matter what the verse is saying. It really just matters how it feels, to me. Like, and you could write 100 different verses, but it's like, yeah, getting that feeling of that big city and then having, connections and supervisors who are making that kind of content, you know what I mean? Because it's probably not a song for This Is Us or, you know, Game of
No, it's not.
Thrones,
It's just not.
clearly, so it's like, where is it going to
Yeah.
get used, um, which is an important question to ask yourself. Not that you're necessarily always saying, where is this going to be used? But if you're like, there's nowhere this could ever be used, and you're trying to make music for sync, then you need to probably ask yourself some questions about what to focus on. But yeah, I thought the vibe was cool.
Yeah, the vibe was great, and I think too, if as long as you're pairing it with universal themes that connect to your vibe, then I think you're in a good spot. Um, and to your point, I think it's worth diving into. If the references that I'm pulling up or in my head, I'm like, oh, that hasn't been a while, then that may cause me to be like, okay, then I need to think about like directionally, where am I going to pitch this? Where would this go?
Yeah, yeah.
For all you know, it could be something that has not been. What's interesting with Sync, it's not been created yet, and it won't be used
Yeah.
until another 2 years. Because I've had lots of songs where it's like they've submitted, they took them, I didn't hear anything, and then a couple years later, you're like, oh, I forgot about that song, and it was used
Yeah.
because I was just building that catalog, just like nose down, just build. And you're kind of the same way where it's like you can't predict where things will always land or when exactly they'll land.
Yeah, I wrote a song called People Like Us with
Mhm.
my friend Tina and my friend Q, and we turned it in, and it wasn't for 3 years that
Yeah.
we get a call, and it was the promo for Abbott Elementary, and it was really that cool sort of community feeling, super wholesome, inner city urban
Yeah.
setting kind of feeling to it. We got a rapper from Memphis on it, and Tina's got a really soulful voice, and it was just a very wholesome, friendly, sort of soulful, funky track. And we were like, we weren't even sure where it could fit, but we knew that it had a real sense of inner city community feeling to it. So we thought it'll probably land somewhere eventually. And then we get this killer spot with it. So, but as you say, 3 years later, sometimes you'll sit on these songs for a minute before they really find their home. So,
Yeah.
yeah, it's cool.
I love it. And then I noticed we're going to we'll take for the last 5 minutes, throw some questions in here. We're going to kind of knock them out. Wish we could go deeper, but sometimes these require a lot more explanation.
Hmm.
But here's one. Not even full songs are used. Well, let's see. That sync that I have noticed being used, it seems not, I think, to be hits. Are they right? I think you're asking, do they not use big hits in syncs? Well, sometimes they can't be if the budget is not allowing it. I mean, the bigger shows, I feel like there's certain ones where you're going to get, not a ton of songs, but they have some of those bigger hits, but it depends on the budget. Yeah.
And that one, what was it called? Love Story or whatever about,
Yeah.
um, who was it? Kennedy and Carolyn Bessette or whatever. And there was a ton of A-level music in that, which
Yeah.
they had a big budget, and then Oh, there's been a couple that have Bieber
Ma-
songs and
Massive
smashes in
one.
them, and you're like, they spend a lot of money on this. So, but usually it's the budget that would dictate not having big hits, if that was the question. Yeah.
But you notice a lot of the things that you mentioned, like This Is Us, you mentioned Grays. If I were to look into found, even things that I've been getting into, like All American, which is, I think that's like CW or like Supergirl, um, you're gonna find that it's not really those big covers, but it's just like a lot of independent things. And he
Mm.
corrected, not even full songs are used. No, most of the time it's not going to be full songs are used.
Yeah.
Maybe a verse or two. Better to tell, better to tell a not so direct but to the point story on the screen. No, um, I think it just goes back to the song is not meant to do the heavy lifting. What's happening on the scene is doing the heavy lifting. Whatever you're doing in your song, emotionally, it needs to feel something, however many words or how little words are in it. It just has to feel good from start to finish, kind of.
It's interesting. Like for me, the OC was always a show that
Oh,
is a benchmark for music supervision. So Alexandra Pitsavis was the music
yeah.
supervisor, and she's just a legend of sync. And she was putting stuff like so in the funeral scene on the OC, where it was the first time I'd ever heard Imogen Heap Lost and Found, hide and seek, I should say. And that song lyrically has nothing to do with what's being played out on the screen at whatsoever, but the feeling is so tangible that it makes that scene so emotional, and it's just so interesting to me because it's a vocoder performance essentially, so it's got this real synthetic element to it, and yet it is so poignant and so emotional, and it makes the scene hit so hard. And so for me, it's like it's not necessarily trying to tell a story. Like we're not trying to um, the man walks through the kitchen and picks up a knife. Like, we're not trying to sing a song about what people are seeing on the screen. We're
Yeah.
trying to capture the emotion of the implication of what's happening on screen or something. It's just it's a sort of, it's coming at it from an angle where you're adding to the emotion of it without trying to oversell the story or even really complicate the story or try and tell it. If you're having to try and tell it, then they haven't shot it correctly. It's like the story's apparent. We've just got to put some extra emotion on it, if that makes sense. So I try and sort of think of it tangentially like that, where we're not trying to telegraph the story. The emotion has to underpin the implication of the story somehow. So the OC is a brilliant reference as well as being a
The
hilarious show
OC
to
is
go back
still
and
one of my
watch. But
favorite,
yeah, it's cool.
favorite,
But the music
because
on there, I mean, they
there's,
broke the Killers on there,
yeah,
like so much Phantom Planet, so much incredible music came out of that show. So
Hot Hot
yeah,
Heat. Do you remember Hot Hot Heat?
hot, hot heat.
Yeah. That Hot Heat.
What?
I was like, that was, I think the hit song, I think it was Get In or Get Out. It's
God, I
been
didn't
a
know
while.
that song.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's go to one last question, Ruben. Does the conventional wisdom around organic versus electronic, or what have or what have you elements consistently apply? Oh, I guess what does conventional wisdom around organic for I guess like which one gets used more and do those same rules apply to either? I'm guessing. I think, with electronic, I can name a ton of electronic bands that have done well, or that is more, the instrumentation's more electronic than necessarily organic acoustic guitars and, drums. There's a lot. It just depends on the show and the brand. Everyone, I don't
Yeah,
think you
it's
can
going to be
really,
the usage that
yeah.
determines that. Like I've heard M83,
Hmm.
on stuff, and then you hear Jose Gonzalez on stuff with his acoustic nylon string guitar and his
Yeah.
simple double track vocal, and you're like, that's such a vibe. It really just is the usage. But there's a real myth, I think, that electronic music can't be emotive and emotional, and I really, I mean, even the Imogen Heap thing we were just talking about, super electronic
Hmm.
sounding, vocoded performance that still has so much emotion, and like, artists like Fred again, who are sampling and making insane electronic music that is hugely emotional and human and amazing. Like, there's so much stuff, that is electronic that still sounds like it conveys such a tangible feeling. Um, I think it's just going to be the usage, and sometimes those things are used anachronistically. Like in a way that feels like it's so out of place, but just feels awesome for the thing. So I don't know if there's like a literal, oh, electronic music never gets used, it's always organic. I think statistically, you probably have a good chance of being in TV drama with more organic leaning things. And I think
Yeah,
those
yeah,
shows are just such a commonplace for songs to get used that I think a lot of TV drama maybe you would focus more on organic instruments. I don't know. I mean, it depends what you're inspired to do, and it depends on the emotion that you feel compelled to try and sort of put across, or it depends on what you're getting briefs for. Because the other
that's right.
piece of this is that we're often writing to a brief. We're not often, I guess it's a bit of both, but
Yeah,
we're not just trying to guess and throw it, something into the void necessarily. We're trying to think about it from a brief perspective. So if they're like, we need an absolute banger, like, or any sports thing, NFL, all that can be
yeah.
absolute bangers, So, or a show like Atlanta or whatever. There's all, yeah, it's just going to depend on the usage. I don't think there's a hard and fast rule, but just make it really feel like something is my highest sort of objective, tangibility. Really want to feel it.
Oh, ugh. Geoff, this was awesome. Our hour has come to an end. I know it's been a long day for you, but this was awesome. And thanks to everyone that submitted songs. We didn't get to all of them. There was a ton, so we just kind of picked a few. Props to everyone that submitted. This was so much fun. Again, Songwriting for Guitar channel. And if you're new to this and what we do, we help songwriters and coach songwriters. So if you're someone that's looking for that, Geoff is one of our coaches here who is incredible and is out helping people develop their skills for sync, their production skills to do it at a high level, which he does as well. Very high level, sir. So
Thank you, mate.
awesome,
Wow.
y'all.
Thanks for having me, Mike. Let's do it again.
Yeah, awesome, everyone. Have a good night. And